Well, good morning from Tromsø. Had a not a bad night's sleep considering it was the first night in a new hotel. Nice comfy bed. Hotel seems really good breakfast this morning. Amazing spread. Didn't even scratch the surface of it, so need to pace myself over the coming days. But yeah, just come out for a walk. It's quite strange, quite surreal that it is still really quite dark, and yet it is about 8:30, 20 to 9 in the morning. Now the polar night officially ended in Tromsø a couple of days ago, but it still takes a bit of getting used to. It's very exciting though. I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but it is snowing at the moment, and it's got heavier since I left the hotel, which if you've watched our Castleton video, I'll put a link in the description, you will know that I love snow, so I'm in my element because it's such a pretty city from what I've seen so far, and we've got snow. Only slight issue is tonight I'm booked on the Northern Lights Safari, and I'm guessing this cloud cover isn't going to aid that, but I'm going to worry about that this evening. I'm sure they'll have some ruse up their sleeve to find somewhere that's a bit less cloudy, so yeah, looking forward to that, but also looking forward to what the day has in store. Perhaps this is the closest I'm going to get to seeing them. We'll find out. As it was still quite early in the morning, most of the shops hadn't opened yet, but it was a really good opportunity for strolling around and window shopping. To be fair, I could probably have spent most of my 3 days just doing that, but don't worry, we will get to some museums when they open a little bit later in the day. This building that you see on the left here is actually the public library, which looks a lot less stuffy than some of the libraries that I've been to in the past. It also looks like it's probably got a good cafe, but I've got somewhere else lined up for later. It seems like everywhere you look it is just so pretty. I'm just in a random bandstand next to the town hall, and I'm not sure that many tourists necessarily come this way because it's slightly off the main drag, like only a few minutes, but definitely worth the walk up here. There's some interesting, wow, massive load of snow just fell off the town hall. Interesting old buildings, interesting new buildings, so yeah, it's just great views. You probably can't see it because of the snow, but over the bay you can just see the Arctic Cathedral. I'll be heading there I think Thursday as it stands at the moment, so yeah, looking forward to that as well. But yeah, it's everywhere you look, and I know I banged on about this in Reykjavik as well, but yeah, everywhere you look in Tromsø so far there is something to look at, especially if you like buildings, which, you know, buildings and snow will keep me happy all day, as long as I can find a coffee at some point. do find yourself walking like an absolute muppet, because some of the pavements are completely cleared, like this one, but some are quite snowy, and I've seen 2 people in the hotel with their arms in slings, so I don't want to join them. So yeah, if I look like I'm walking around like a bit of a knobber, yeah, it's because I am, but if I, get out of it with all limbs intact, I'll have the last laugh. My first museum of the day is going to be Polaria, the aquarium. It's easy enough to get a bus out there, it takes about 6 minutes, but I decided I would take the opportunity to walk. Next door to the aquarium is the MS Polstjerner, which is a sealing vessel built in 1949. In the summer season you can go in and explore it and walk all around the ship and that sort of thing, which sounded like it would be really interesting, but unfortunately in winter it was closed. You do get a good peek through the window though. Polaria itself was undergoing some building works. You'll understand why when we get inside later. It doesn't affect the inside experience of the museum at all, but obviously you can't admire the external architecture as much as you would if it wasn't going on. It's all for a good reason though. Anyhow, it's still too early in the day for it to be open just yet, so there is something else that is on my itinerary that I am about to try to track down for you. So don't accuse me of not seeking out some interesting and slightly different things in these places. Yes, we are going to go to the aquarium, which is probably one of the most popular places in Tromsø, in a minute. It's not open yet, but there's something else that I want to see and I want to show you. Unfortunately, it's a bit hidden by snow, but there is the Tromsø Dachshund statue. So I was going to tell you that it's not very cold today, and that's probably true, because it's hovering around freezing, maybe going up to 2 or 3 today. So that is a lot warmer than I've seen it on the forecast, but out here on this jetty the wind is pretty biting. So I think that means it's time to head back onto terra firma and go and check out this aquarium. But yeah, really good so far. Right then, it's 10 o'clock, Polaria's opened, so let's go and check it out. So, time to head into Polaria, the aquarium. Not quite sure how I feel about the fact that they've got seals in captivity, but let's go and see what it's like and how well they're kept, etc, etc. So let's check it out. It was nice to see a cloakroom like there were in all the museums last year in Reykjavik, and you sort of felt like you could actually leave your bulky coat there and it would be safe. I did it in every museum that I went to, and I've still got the coat. Anyway, the main attraction of Polaria is the seal pool, where there are 5 seals from 2 different species, and you can see them throughout the day, but they also have some feeding sessions where they tell you about the seals and what they do with them here in the aquarium.
It's an exciting time for us here at Polaria because we start to expand our building, and soon in the future we will have 3 new seal pools, and they will be bigger, and also we will have a pool out area, and the seals can have an opportunity to swim outside. And here at Polaria we train our seals several times a day, but never to make a seal show, but just to stimulate our seals both mentally and physically, so they will have better life here with us.
I think it would be fair to say that most people probably go to Polaria for the seals, but there is much more to it than just that. The seals are great, it's really interesting to hear about them and to see them, get up close and personal to them, but don't miss the rest of the aquarium as well. There are lots of interesting exhibits. I really enjoyed it. It's not a massive museum, but for me that's a good thing. There was enough there to keep me entertained and find it interesting, but not so much that it was overwhelming. And although it's primarily an aquarium, there are other bits and pieces about polar bears, about seabirds, about the northern lights and things like that. There's a theatre where you can watch lots of different films about various things. I watched one about Svalbard, which was really interesting. Again, quite short, so short enough to keep your attention and still be interesting. So all in all, I thought it was a really good trip out. Upstairs there's this really cool seating area where you can sit down and chill for a bit if you want, obviously during or after your visit. Great views out the front over the snowy city as well. And you can, I believe, get coffees and hot chocolates and things like that from the shop down below and bring them up to sit here, presumably eat your own food and drink if you've got something with you. I didn't have a drink there because my next stop is going to be a coffee shop as we head back into the city, but it was still a nice place to spend a few minutes just sitting and chilling out. You also get a good sense of the architecture of the building from here. And no museum would be complete without a gift shop, and Polaria's was one of the best that I saw. It's got lots of local and handmade items. It's all quite expensive, as you might expect in Norway, but it all seemed like nice quality stuff. So that was pretty good. I'm no expert on seals, but as far as I can see, they looked quite content. They didn't show any signs of distress. I don't really know what a sign of distress in a seal would be, but they looked like they were enjoying themselves. They looked like they were well cared for, and they were saying that they are actually currently building a much bigger pool for them, 3 pools I think, and they'll be able to go outside. So I think anyone who does have concerns, it sounds like those might be allayed into the future. Anyway, nice aquarium, quite a small museum, always good in my book. So yeah, one worth going to. So just going to head back and try to find some caffeine, but I think first of all I'm going to head back to the hotel because I bought a few souvenirs, which means I want to get those out of my bag, but also replenish my wallet. Tromsø has an absolute plethora of cafes, so I wasn't short on choice. I picked one that was actually only a few minutes walk from the hotel and which I'd read about online. Happy days, there was a table that was free and I soon got my caffeine fix. Well, that was great. The Norwegian coffee does seem quite strong, so I probably won't be having too many of those, but yeah, gave me a bit of energy boost and some food. Gonna have to do more than that for lunch I think other days, but I'm having an early dinner tonight, so before we go on the Northern Lights Safari, so I'm sure the croissant will see me through. And look, this is what they do with the pavements. It's pretty cool. This guy's got to be feeling a cold. If I'm not mistaken, that over there is the Hermes 2 coming into the harbour. We'll be going on that on Thursday. I'd be seeing this guy quite a few times during my trip, and I always walked this way to say hello to him. Right, time for another museum, this time the Polar Museum. The main focus of the museum is about expeditions to the polar regions and what everyday life and adventures were like in the Arctic from way back when in the 17th century up to the present day. There is a big focus on hunting and trapping, that sort of thing, alongside explorers. So I didn't dwell too much on what they were doing to a lot of these animals. I tried to just look at the cute furry things and not what was happening to them. So it wasn't necessarily my first choice of museum, because hunting trapping is really not my thing, but I thought it would be silly to go here and not have a quick look. And it's quite interesting. It's an interesting building. It's a very old building. The floors are really like creaky and uneven and what have you. The building itself is quite interesting, and some of these displays where they'd like mocked up cabins and things like that were interesting. If you're a big history buff, especially into exploration, then you would definitely spend a lot of time here. It's worth noting as well that if you do want to go to this museum and the Polstjerne, which was the ship I showed you earlier in the video, if that's open when you visit, and the Arctic University Museum, which I will go to later in the week, then you can get a combination ticket, which will save you a reasonable amount of money. So yeah, something worth thinking about. I got the combination ticket because just for doing this and the Arctic University Museum, it made sense. Obviously, if you're there in the summer and you've got the ship as well, then it will be even better value. So, would I recommend the Polar Museum? It kind of depends. If you really like your history, or you're interested in hunting, sealing, all that kind of stuff, and the expeditions that were done, then yeah, you could spend a lot of time there reading everything. You're given a paper guide that you can use to help work out what all the exhibits are, although they are labelled anyway. So yeah, if you're really into that sort of thing, you could spend a lot of time there. I was more into just sort of seeing the, let's be honest, the stuffed animals, and yeah, a bit past the time. The question is, can I fit in one more museum? Because if I can knock that out today, that frees up some time on Thursday. So yeah, can I manage one more before an early dinner? Well, here's something I didn't think I'd be saying north of the Arctic Circle in January. It's raining. Like seriously, it's raining. What is that all about? I guess it is time to find out, although it's not that heavy, whether this coat actually has any waterproof capabilities. I brought it with me for the warmth factor rather than the wet factor. So yeah, we'll see how we go. Undeterred by the rain, I pushed on to the next and final museum of the day, which was the Troll Museum. It's not something I actually thought I would go to when I read about it, but I saw it on a few YouTube videos when I was researching my itinerary, and it actually made it look pretty good fun. So I decided I would head there and see for myself. It's also one of the less expensive museums in the city, which sort of persuaded me that it would be worth giving it a go. Essentially, it tells you all about Norwegian fairy tales and legends, and it's got augmented reality technology, so that was actually quite good. You could sort of interact with the exhibits a bit more than just reading stories. That said, the stories were actually quite interesting. The ones that I did read, they were well written, short enough that they really captivated you quite quickly, and gave you the gist of what you were looking at. So although it wasn't something that was top on my list before I went, I would say it is worth having a look around. I didn't spend that long here, but I did enjoy it. It was, it was a bit of fun, bit of a laugh, and something a little bit different after some of the more serious history stuff that I'd seen a little bit earlier. So it's now time to brave my first restaurant in Tromsø. I'd had a good look online at the options and I picked out Størhus, which is a primarily pizza restaurant in the centre of town. It was kind of mid-afternoon at the point that I got there, and I wanted an early dinner because obviously, as I said earlier, tonight I'm off on the Aurora Safari, so I wanted time to eat at a leisurely pace and then digest before rushing off. The vibe in here was really good, decent menu as well. I'm vegetarian. I found I didn't struggle at all throughout my stay. This was absolutely delicious, so yeah, I would head back there. Eventually it was time to head off on the safari. As you'll see, it was quite a plush modern coach that took us out. The trip I went on was run by a company called Best Arctic. They have, I think it's 8 sort of base camps in the area surrounding Tromsø, and they pick the one that on that particular day that will give you the best chance of seeing the aurora. On the night I went, we ended up on the island of Sommerøy. So you won't be able to see me at all, but I am just, lying on my back in the snow and the ice, trying to take some pictures of the aurora, which are pretty much directly overhead at the moment. I thought it was going to be a disappointing night, but actually they've turned out, which was quite good. I'm hoping some of the photos will be decent, but I guess I'll have to see when I look at them later tonight or tomorrow. But yeah, it's cold, but it's good. You get a photo as part of the trip with Best Arctic, maybe a little bit naff, but souvenir to take home with you. Then it was time to get back into the bus once the aurora had stopped doing their thing and head back to the snowy city centre. Not going to lie, I was pretty tired at this point in time. It had been a long day, but a very worthwhile one. Join me next time as I take the cable car and see if I can see the Northern Lights another time. As always, thanks for watching.